Hi guys, today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the forms of abuse that a narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, active addict, any sort of emotional, psychological manipulator may be using to control the victim. So one very common form of control that narcissists, especially covert narcissists, are sort of known for is the silent treatment. They can use a silent treatment to punish you. If you've done something that they deem as wrong, then they may completely ignore you. They may not speak to you for multiple days, or when you're trying to directly communicate with them, they may completely ignore you. You may send them emails or text messages and they just ignore. So the silent treatment is a very subtle form of psychological abuse. Its intention is to make the recipient feel like they're worthless, like they don't matter, like they're just nothing, right? Like they don't even they're not even good enough to, get a response because they're just so beneath the narcissist, right? And when it was happening to me, I actually sent the person an email saying, hey, this is a form of abuse. Like, I don't know if you realize that you're doing this or not, because at the time I was thinking this person actually had like high functioning autism or ASD. And I said, but this is abusive. When I'm asking you direct questions, I'm sending you emails, text messages, calling you, trying to talk to you in person, and you're completely ignoring me, that is abusive. So I spelled it out for the person so that they would know, and the behaviors just continued. Stonewalling is another sort of form of silent treatment where you're asking them direct questions like, are you having an affair with that married lady at work? And they just look at you and blink and don't answer at all. Or, what's the issue here? What's going on here? What's the problem here in this relationship? And they just look at you and blink and won't give you any information. So they're withholding information, they're withholding communication, they're stonewalling, they're not responding, they're completely going dark on you even when you're in the same room with them, like trying to directly and sincerely communicate, right? It's another form of control and emotional and psychological abuse. Another form that they may be using is, high level of manipulation. They will manipulate and distort your reality. And that's actually, they often use it in the form of gaslighting, where they will make you question your sanity when, you're saying, hey, I think this thing is going on. Like, are you having an affair with this person? And they'll say, they may say something like, well, that's absurd. You're just jealous. You're insecure. You're always jealous. This is a problem you have. And instead of telling you the truth when that's actually what's going on. So gaslighting is where they truly are trying to distort your reality and your cognitions. And this can create, gaslighting is it's very damaging to the brain. It can create a lot of cognitive dissonance. It can create, foggy brain, confusion. You're questioning your own reality. You're questioning your own sanity. It can really make the recipient feel crazy. It's like crazy making. So that's another form. And then, subtle put downs. And these can be, very, very subtle. And they may not be overt at all, but they can be like, they could say like, how old are you, you child, or just real subtle, real underhanded put downs that you may not, totally know what's going on, but they feel sort of like backhanded compliments. Like they could say something nice and then like reverse it by sort of, taking it back. So there can be very like subtle, demeaning, put downs. And then like silent scorn, they could be, totally silent with you, but look at you with these withering glances and these, sort of demeaning you feel that, you've done something wrong, but you don't know what it is because they're just looking at you with like disdain or like this sort of cold superiority, this smugness. And, you feel like nothing you ever do is good enough. They set the bar up here. It keeps moving. You keep trying to do better and better and better to please them. And you have no idea, what you can do to make things okay, and they withhold the information. So they'll never say to you, hey, you know, or they'll rarely say, hey, if you do this, this would be very helpful, or, you know, hey, I would really appreciate it if you would do this thing instead of this, or hey, it really hurts my feelings when you do this. So they're really using a lot of withholding of information, of communication, of sincerity, of their feelings, of what's really going on. So you're left in an absolute state of bewilderment and confusion. And you know, you might be the type of person that if somebody was direct with their communication and said, hey, I have a problem with you doing this, can you stop it? You might be like, absolutely, I absolutely will, or I will really try. You might be that kind of person who's totally willing to do your part to improve things if somebody will just give you a little bit of an indicator of what that might be. But the manipulator will often not do that. They're withholding information, they're withholding communication, they're controlling information. Other forms of abuse may be withholding information about money, keeping accounts separate from you. If you're in a long-term marriage, they may keep accounts separate, they hide things, they keep money away from you. So basically they're controlling the money. They may create a dependence on you financially, a dependence to where you need them, you know, to survive financially. And they may do this in a very subtle way. It may just be like, you know, hey, we need more time together, so can you work a little bit less on the weekends? Or it could be any sort of form like that where you're, you know, you get into a position of dependency on them. And you know, typically with the narcissist, they're double-headed about it. Like on one hand, they love the dependence because they get control over you, and then on the other hand, they resent you for it because you should be making millions for them, right? So you know, they're very entitled in that way. So yeah, that's, you know, stonewalling, silent treatment, gaslighting, insincere communication. They may also just lie directly to your face. You know, you may just be confronted with absolute pathological lying directly to your face, and you have no idea that that's what's going on, but it is. So there's that as well. And then, you know, sometimes the abuse can be in the form of what they don't say, with withholding. So they may be withholding compliments where everyone around you is like, hey, you did such a good job on this, I'm so proud of you, and they're silent. Or you could ask them, hey, could you, you know, give me this special token to celebrate my, you know, 10 years or my 8 years in recovery from alcohol addiction. It's just an example. And the person could be like, no. And you don't even know why. Like, they're just not supportive of you in any, you know, in that way. They're only supportive if it's performative and other people can see it, but they're not truly supportive. They don't really have your best interest at heart. They want you beneath them. They are superior, you are inferior. You are the minion, they are the king or the queen, and they need to keep you in that position of you know, sort of inferiority. They need to do that to feed their egos so that they feel more powerful and better than you, right? So you know, and other forms of abuse can come in the form of, yeah, like withholding. They can withhold sex, intimacy, communication, you know, their feelings. They won't tell you how they're feeling. You can ask them, hey, penny for your thoughts. They just ignore you. But yeah, they're masters of like withholding. If you tell them you want more physical intimacy, they're going to probably withhold it. Like, that's actually one of their tactics. Like, making you feel like you just don't matter, like you're not important, like nothing you want matters. They may engage in very passive aggressive behaviors. You know, they may punish you by not finishing projects around the house that you've asked them to do. And you may not even realize that that's what they're doing. They're punishing you. But you can do something in the moment, and then later on, you know, they do some weird passive aggressive thing to punish you, and you have no idea what's going on, right? So that can be another form, is sort of passive aggressive behaviors. So, you know, they're going to frustrate and thwart their victim, and you do a lot of crazy making. And this is a lot of like, you know, high level, sophisticated, you know, manipulation, so that they can have the person in a state of being off kilter and confused. They also engage in a lot of triangulation, and that is where they may be triangulating, you know, their primary source of supply with their affair partner, with their secondary source. So it's like this triangle, and they're talking shit behind the primary sources back, to the affair partner and vice versa, and like just creating this triangulation and jealousy and insecurity in the two recipients. And sometimes you don't even know you're being triangulated because you don't even know there is an affair partner, right? But the affair partner, they're using you to triangulate with the affair partner and keep that person feeling insecure and off kilter and off balance. So this is just a lot of their, tactics that they will use. Triangulation also can be, when the narcissist, in these families, there's a lot of triangulation. Let's say like one of the, narcissistic parents might go to, one of the siblings to talk about the other sibling behind their back rather than directly confronting that, that child or that grown child to their face. They'll use a lot of triangulation. These are families that operate in indirect communication and triangulation behind people's backs rather than addressing things directly with the person themselves that they have a problem with or that they're worried about, right? So you'll see that a lot. Triangulation, manipulation, stonewalling, silent treatment, passive aggressive behaviors, gaslighting, very insidious forms of psychological abuse and manipulation. And these are usually a narcissist is going to be using this whole arsenal of tools in their toolbox. They're going to be using like a lot of these tactics to make you feel insecure, less than, off kilter, confused, have no idea what's going on. You're questioning your own reality, you're questioning your own sanity. And this can go on over a long period of time. You can be like a little frog that's being boiled in water and you don't even know that this stuff is happening. And of course, in the beginning of the relationship, they're doing all this intense love bombing to get you connected to them. And so you're being, you think everything you do is great. They just think you're amazing. You feel so loved and accepted and understood. And but over time, during the devaluation period, like you are going to, get your self-esteem is going to be slowly eroded to where you're relying on this person for any little crumbs that they can give you so you can feel like, okay, because they've literally eroded your self-esteem and your self-reliance over a long, sort of slow period of time. These forms of manipulation and abuse are very subtle. They can be very, pervasive. You might not even know that it's happening until you get out of the relationship and you look back and you're like, holy Toledo, what the heck just happened there? So that can be, that can be the case where, you don't know what's happening until you look back. And of course, we've discussed this, I've discussed this in other videos, narcissists, covert ones have this incredible mask of goodness that they send to the world. It's a mask of niceness. They can look very vulnerable, very shy, very considerate, very kind, very altruistic. That is the mask that they send to the world, like a honest, sweet, kind Boy Scout, and underneath it, or Girl Scout, and underneath it, there's this double life, this duplicity, this manipulating people to get their needs met, this sense of grandiosity and entitlement and thinking that they're better than everyone, they're superior, you're less than. They prey on people that are vulnerable, they prey on trauma survivors, they prey on codependents, they prey on people that think and want the best for others and tend to overlook some of their more negative qualities. So if you're watching this, one thing that you can do to avoid getting into relationship with these sorts of people is you can develop very healthy boundaries and some discernment. And the boundaries, may be difficult to develop because you may have grown up in a family that was enmeshed with porous boundaries. But there's some really good books out there on boundary setting, learning boundaries. You could go to Codependence Anonymous. There's a lot of information that you can, read and research and learn a different way so that you can have clear, healthy, strong boundaries. And that is a very good way to get rid of manipulators, because they don't usually mess with people that have clean, strong, healthy boundaries, because it's way too much work for them and they're particularly lazy. So in general, they want the easier targets. So I would say, if you find yourself in one of these relationships, start working on your boundaries. Get clean on your boundaries. Figure out, where your sort of boundaryless way of being came from. Usually it's from our childhood and our family of origin. And then, learn some new strategies to learn how to set healthy, effective, strong boundaries, so that you will not let these kind of manipulators get past your little garden gate. I look at it like, I heard one time that, like, I have this beautiful rose garden and I have this fence around my rose garden, and I can open my fence and let people into my rose garden who I choose to. And sometimes if I open the fence and I let somebody into my rose garden, they may run around and trample on my roses, right? And if they do that, I can open the fence and say, get out. And they go out, and when they come by a week later and they want to come into my rose garden, I keep the gate shut. I can wave at them and say hi as they walk by, but I do not need to open my gate to anyone who tramples on my roses, right? And, we get to choose who we let in and who we don't. And you don't need to be liked by everybody. In fact, if people don't like you, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and there's no way that everyone is going to like you. And if they don't like you, it's probably a compliment, because if you're sending your true self to relationships and to everyone, you're not wearing a mask, you're just being authentic and sending yourself. If you're doing that, some people are bound to not like you. That's an awesome compliment. That means you're being you. That's great. Who could even handle 7 billion people liking them? Can you imagine the pressure of that? So, I kind of look at it that way. You get to choose who you want to come into your rose garden, and if people disrespect or trample on your roses, you keep them out. And the people that come in and smell your roses and love your roses and water them and appreciate them, absolutely, you can open the gate and let those people back in. So I don't know if this helps you, but this is just some of the, high level or sometimes low level of manipulation strategies that narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, active addicts may be using on you, and some ways to avoid it. And remember, this is your journey. You get to learn and grow and have healthy boundaries, and perhaps this relationship with the manipulator might be the best thing that ever happened to you if it helps you to develop a sense of self, strong sense of self, and some incredible discernment for your future. So I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the sunshine. Bye-bye.